Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joshua Berglan, and this is Civil Justice. This is a different broadcast that I do, and most of the content that is in this section of the World's Mayor Experience platform that you can find at www.joshuatberglan.com. That's Joshua T as in Tyler, Berglan.com. And in that section, you're going to find a lot of civil commitment videos. Now, I've done probably about 40 different videos, lost some and think I found them, and I'm starting to republish some of the old interviews that we've done. But there's a lot of new content there and a lot of news stories from some of the men that are locked up under civil commitment. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But today, we're having someone from Larned, Kansas. And if you saw the episode before with Taiza, who shared her testimony, actually, there's two videos. There's an interview I did with her, and she is discussing from her standpoint as a therapist inside of this facility, she's discussing what she saw, what she experienced. And she spoke in detail about the injustices that go on. And what's good about that, other than her having the courage to stand up and do the right thing when other people won't. And I'm going to speak to that part in a second too. But it's taken a lot of courage for her to do that. But today we're going to have somebody, one of the patients or residents or inmates from the shadow prison in Kansas. And we call it a shadow prison because it's a hospital, but the people that are there technically have no chance of getting out. There's a lot of them that have never been charged. There's people in there that are horribly disabled, that are not getting properly treated care. Oh, that's the speaker. Today, because I am not going to be able to have our guest on video. He's going to call in, or I'm calling him here in a couple minutes. And he's just going to share it through the phone. He's going to share a story. I'll ask him questions. And if you've seen any of the other interviews, every story is different from the inmates. There's some people that were actually sexually violent predators, and some aren't. Some were falsely accused. Some have never been charged. There's a lot of different stories. But the one thing that's consistent from all of the different facilities that we've done interviews is that, like Kansas, New Jersey, California, Texas, Minnesota, where I'm at, all the stories are different, but they're the same in that, and again, state to state, they're sharing the same stories about the injustices that are happening behind those walls or those bars. And it's pretty gross. And how I got involved, it was a pure accident. A few years ago, I met this guy in Minnesota on Twitter, and he's somebody that was falsely accused. I didn't know anything about civil commitment at the time. And I got to tell you, when I first heard about what these inmates have been accused of, it was very hard for me to even want to have the conversation. It was triggering for me. Speak to Tom Evanstead, who is the very first person that I interviewed, and I had no idea, if he was being honest about being falsely accused. And he's one of the people that actually have been able to get out, and he's fighting for his life. Has all the evidence to prove that he's innocent, and he's got the evidence to prove of the cover-ups and the other things that are happening that are trying to keep his name from getting cleared. And it's a tragic story. Tom's story breaks my heart. I mean, I say, and he's out, but his story breaks my heart because even though he's out of prison, like, he's still in a prison. The abuse and the trauma that he experienced while behind bars at MSOP in Minnesota, in Moose Lake, Minnesota, is damaged him for life. And it's heartbreaking because Tom is a good-hearted man who did not do anything wrong, and he had his life ruined. But there's so many stories like that. There's stories of 13-year-old boys having sex with 10-year-old girls and going to civil commitment. And what's tragic about that story, and that's I need to find that episode. I'll put it in the notes. But what's tragic about that story is the boy that had sex with the 10-year-old, the 13-year-old that had sex with the 10-year-old, is mentally disabled and didn't really even know what they were doing. But it was 13 and 10, and somehow he ended up behind bars. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of tragic stories. I don't know the gentleman today's story. I don't know anything about it, but I'm excited about it because he's in the facility that Taiza worked at. And that's the same facility that she shared what she saw as a therapist inside the facility. And since there's a couple videos posted on YouTube with her, you can go to my YouTube page and see it, or also on my website. But what's unique about what she's doing is she's a young woman. She's a minority. She's what's the appropriate way to say this? Other than being a minority, being a woman, and being young, you know, she's having the onslaught of this facility, the staff. And I want to challenge you to go to the YouTube video with her on there, and I'll put it in the show notes also. But you should read the comments, because the comment section has therapists desperately trying to discredit Taiza, and desperately trying to discredit her and saying some really awful things. And then there's some other therapists that are defending her. So you decide what's true and what's really happening. Since she stepped up, people have been coming after her and trying to get her license taken from her because she was doing the right thing. And it's easy to dismiss people in civil commitment because they're labeled sexually violent people. But again, a lot of them have never even faced trial. Some of them have never been charged, and they've been locked away for 25 years. It's horrible. There's people that it would be absolutely impossible for them to commit another crime to the level of their disability, and they are being mistreated in the facilities. And again, if you doubt that, not only listen to her testimony, look at the comments that are being made, and on top of that, look at the other civil commitment videos, the hidden audio, the secret audio videos, because in those videos, they're saying that they're committing malpractice because they're not caring for the patients. They're admitting on camera, on video, on audio, what they're doing. And it's a gross misjustice. And there's a lot of high-profile civil commitment cases that some people are aware of, like Britney Spears, for instance. She was civilly committed, and there's so many therapists and legal professionals that are trying to challenge this civil commitment law now because it does no good. If you want to think of it selfishly, I think that's the right way to say it. But if you want to look at it selfishly, it's robbing you, the taxpayer. Those of you who pay taxes, it's robbing you, because this money is just being wasted, and they're getting paid a crap ton of money to treat these people like animals, worse than animals. Animals get treated better. People, actually, I spoke to a guy yesterday who is ready to give up. He's been fighting for 30 years, and he's ready to give up. And because no one is willing to step up that has the power to do anything. And like, I don't have that big of an audience to be able to say, to wield power. Like, I'm not Joe Rogan to be able to go, okay, everybody, all 50 million of you that listen, go after these people, expose it. Like, I need that. I need someone with a large audience to expose this, to like go, oh my God, this is awful, and do something about it. So anyway, this is like, this affects people. Like, this could easily happen to you. It could happen to your kids. It could happen to one of you that has too much to drink and you slap somebody on the butt that you shouldn't have. Like literally, there is a case like that where someone has been locked away for 20 years. It's so screwed up. All right, so now it's time for me to call. So hang out with me just a second. I thank you for being here. Oh, really quick before I do this. I have a sponsor, and I'm, you got to promote my sponsor really quick. These GenoStem organic peptides have absolutely changed my life. They've changed everything. I mean, I can talk about my hair growth and all that stuff, which has been amazing. But it's more than that. Like my vision has been better. My stomach, my gut health has improved greatly. I'm shocked. It's helped my mental health. I mean, look, I have ASD and DID, so it's like gets a little crazy sometimes, but like it's improving, and I believe that I can heal. It's just been hell, but this is helping my mental health too, and so much more. I mean, my hormones are like right, and they've been all over the place. And if you've ever struggled with adrenal fatigue, it just gets everything out of whack, including testosterone. So this has been an absolute blessing to me. So all of you can go to genostem.com, and it'll be in the show notes, genostim.com. You can use promo code MAYOR and save 20% on your entire order. It is incredible. It's risk-free. You can get your money back if you don't like it, but it's life-changing. It's life-changing. And if you are somebody that has, if you've had a CVA, I found this out. I'm going to do a video on it soon. If you've had a stroke or brain aneurysm, these peptides can help heal you. I don't know if I could. I think I could. Okay. Heal is not the right. I have to retract that statement because I don't want to get in trouble. It can improve your health if you've had that problem. Like it really can. And maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but there's a money back guarantee. So you can test it, and it's organic and there's no side effects. So anyway, all right, let's call the hospital now.
To the recording of this telephone call by Larned State Hospital. You are the attorney of record for a patient and want to verify that you are on the do not record list. Please call 620-285-4590 before proceeding. Thank you. Please listen to the following options as they may have changed. Press 1 for Dylan West 1, or you can press 2 for Dylan West.
Wait while I transfer your call.
Here we go. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
May I speak to Damien, please?
This is him.
Hey, it's Joshua. Sorry about that. I tried to call the number you called me from, and I couldn't get in, so I apologize about that.
It's all good, man. That number's a totally different number, but it's all right.
Okay, well, you are live, and I want to welcome you for being here. Would you please share your name with everyone and where you're at?
Well, I would like to let everyone know that my name is Daimon Allen, but I'm formerly known as Mark Wilson. I actually had a name change, a legal name change, about 8 years ago. I live at Larned State Hospital in the sexual predator treatment program, and I've been here for about 18 years.
Now, what brought you into the facility?
Well, I went to prison on a probation violation. When I was out there on the streets, I caught a sex offense at 19 years old, aggravating indecent solicitation of a child over a 14-year-old girl when I was 19. We were passing each other notes. We liked each other. We're two neighborhood kids that liked each other. Her mom found out about it, called the cops on me, and I ended up getting 2 years of probation. A year into my probation, I couldn't stay off the dope. I got a year and a half in prison, and then I was evaluated by a guy named Rex Rosenberg after my prison stay, and then eventually I came here in August of 2006, and I've been here since.
Oh. So when you say dope, was it meth or cannabis?
You name it. I was mostly doing meth. I was mainlining. I was also doing a little bit of heroin. I had a drug problem. That was the big thing. Yeah.
So how many offenses with a minor were you accused of?
Okay, so I actually got in trouble when I was 16. I had a sex offense when I was 16. What it come down to is my hormones were going crazy. I was growing up, and you know, I don't know how to explain. My hormones were going crazy, and I was just, when girls would come around, and you know, whether they be 12, 13, or 14, I just had no inhibitions, I guess. I doing dumb things as a young kid. So, but yeah, when I was 19, I got in trouble over the 14-year-old girl, and her 11-year-old sister was also included in it because she was the one that was delivering the notes for me and this girl. But when I was 16, like I said, I got in trouble for a sex offense over my stepsister and a friend of my sister, something that I should have never done. But they were 11 and 12 years old, and yeah, I regret it to this day. It was wrong, but I really believe that it was a result of, I was a young kid. My hormones were going crazy. I don't know how else to put it.
Were you now? But you hold on, real quick. I was a chemsex addict for 20 years, so I understand the hormone thing, and I also understand hormones on drugs. Was it a combination of hormones and drugs for you?
Well, when I was a kid, maybe. I know that when I was 19, I actually caught that offense. I was clean and sober when I caught that offense. But then when I got out on probation, it was about a year into my probation when I started doing dope again, which was obviously a dumb idea. You know, I kind of felt entitled, felt like I earned it. And
I know that feeling.
The whole story is crazy, but
okay.
Yeah, looking back, yeah, what can I do about it? I mean, since I've been here, my biggest problem actually has been my drug addiction.
Are you able to use
my
there?
Problems in this place have stemmed from my drug addiction.
Wait a second. Are you able to use in the facility?
I used to. I mean, they say that when you're in prison or wherever, that you actually have more access to drugs than you do on the streets, and sometimes it seems like that's true. And there for a long time, there was a group of guys that was getting in a lot of illegal substances, and there for a while, I was actually using a lot of those legal substances and became really deep in debt with those guys to the point where my life became a living hell. I was doing things that I never imagined I would do, and I was
like what?
I was forced into prostitution there for a little while. Mm-hmm. I had gotten to where I had been raped repeatedly. In the facility that you're in now. Yes, this happened right here in this facility, and I tried. Well, at first I tried to conceal it, but the rape thing came out in the open somehow. Somebody knew about it and went to somebody, and then a staff member pulled me into a room with another guy and asked me about it, and she let on like she wasn't going to say anything, but I think she was the one that finally went and reported it. But they did an emergency move on me. Then they come and talk to me about it, and I think they just assumed that I made it up or something. But after they moved me, this guy continued to take advantage of guys that were weaker than him, and he had raped another guy. And well, they ended up doing a rape kit on that guy. Now the guy that was going around doing this is actually serving like 50 years in prison right now for raping the last guy. But it's like when he did what he did to me, it all just got swept under the rug and forgotten about. I had even tried to bring it up in court about 6-7 years ago, and the judge just kind of brushed me off and said that I was trying to make myself a victim.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to, let's tell me about your upbringing. What was your childhood like?
Oh man. My parents divorced when I was 3. My mom didn't remarry again until I was about 6 or 7. And this guy, I mean, he was a good guy, pretty much raised us. And I had 3 siblings. but we would move from place to place to place to place all the time. And I know my mom had a lot of problems. She was a psychopath and a drug addict. I'm sure she was constantly cheating on her husband. My mom had a lot of problems.
Were you abused?
Go ahead.
Were you abused?
Well, it seemed like it seemed like I received a lot of psychological abuse from my mother,
Sure.
more than anything. There was a little bit of physical abuse. I think that sometimes my stepdad might have went overkill when he was trying to physically punish me.
Yeah.
I don't think it was intentional. I remember one time he had a hold of my ears and was slamming me into my bed and screaming in my face. And I remember I had bruises on my ears. They wouldn't let me go to school until the bruises went away. But yeah, I first started getting high at about age 11. My older brother was the one that introduced me to marijuana at about age 11. And just from there, I just started doing more and more. Any chance I got, I think I did crank for my first time at about 13 years old, smoked it out of a light bulb.
Oh, well, that doesn't, I mean, that just flips reality on its head. I mean, meth was I graduated from a cocaine abuse to meth abuse because my nose was so screwed up. Meth was the easiest thing. And when I was, prostituting myself, meth kind of came with it. And, when I was on sex apps, it was, that the meth was the easiest thing to get because that's big in the gay community. And, that's, if they all wanted drugs, I'm willing to do whatever it took. So I understand, I never, there's no judgment. I want to make this clear. And part of the reason why these interviews and these conversations are important and why I care about you all is that a lot of you really just were put in some really bad situations, and every story I've heard is different, but nonetheless, I do believe that people can heal and people can change. And but what concerns me about these facilities is people are not really getting the treatment that they're there for, and it's not doing any good. Instead, it's just creating more problems. And then there's people that didn't do anything that are suffering some horrendous abuses. But in your case, this drug use at an early age, I mean, it's what meth does. And for the audience that's never done meth before, meth makes the worst, most awful, god-awful, evil, disgusting, vile things sound awesome. That it takes reality and puts it in a blender and flips it upside down, and it just, nothing makes sense. And you do things, you have no inhibitions, and some other thing inside of you is driving you. Is it an excuse? No, because you chose to ingest the drugs. I chose to ingest the drugs. My actions after that, even though I was out of my mind, I'm still responsible for. And in your case, this drug addiction, you are suffering the consequences for that. How did you get caught, or how did it get exposed and you got in trouble?
My drug use?
No, when you got caught with the younger girls.
Oh, you mean when I was 16 or 19?
Well, you can tell both stories if you like.
Times, when I was 16, I had a stepsister, and she and I was doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. And we was sneaking around doing those things. I mean, sometimes she'd even corner me. She was 11. I was 16. Yeah, those things shouldn't have been happening, but they were. But then my sister had a friend who would come over all the time. She was 12 years old, and I grabbed her butt one night, and she didn't like it. So she went and told my brother about it. And my brother went and told my mom about it. Then my mom told her friend about it, who was the mother of my sister's friend. And so they ended up calling the cops on me. They all flipped out, and I ended up going and doing a couple years in a juvenile prison in Topeka. And I got out at 19 years old, and I was just really immature. I was really immature minded. As a matter of fact, when I got here, that's all I really needed to do was grow up and get over my drug addiction.
Let me ask you something. Was the sex with the minors, was it consensual?
Between me and my stepsister, yes. I know people don't like hearing that, but it was. And then when I was 19, and so I didn't grow up with this stepsister, by the way. This was like, she was only in my life for a couple years at this time, but I know that's still not an excuse, but it's true. Yeah. But when I was 19, the 14-year-old girl, yeah, I mean, I was like the rock star across the street. I had a heavy metal band. I was a drummer. The whole neighborhood could hear us practicing on the weekends. Obviously, she could hear us. She was right across the street. So here's this porky-breasted little teeny bopper, you know, who's got the hots for the drummer across the street. She'd see me and my band out there taking pictures sometimes, hanging out. And, you know, one day she was grounded at the house for something and had her little sister bring me a note. And I read it, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh, my God. So I wrote her back. And we started communicating back and forth that day, and we made a plan to do something. And then a few days later, they was cleaning up their yard so that I could mow their lawn, and little sister got mad at big sister and went and told her mom what me and big sister was up to. And her mom flipped out and called the cops on me. And so, but they actually gave me 2 years of probation for that because it really wasn't that heinous. And I remember them even standing in the courtroom, the prosecuting attorney standing there saying that I really wasn't a violent guy. I've never forced myself on anyone. They was willing to cut me a break, and they gave me 2 years of probation. And yeah, like about a year into my probation, actually it was about maybe somewhere between September and somewhere around September, October was when I actually started getting high again. It was that needle. The very first time I ever stuck a needle in my arm, a guy I was hanging out with that I shouldn't have been hanging out with said to me when I was driving him home from Walmart, said, hey, man, he said, you want to shoot some dope when we get back? Like, all right, sure. And I actually, in a way, immature mind, I did it as a way to get back at my ex-girlfriend, who was actually his girlfriend's sister. And because she was at the house, and I remember she was trying to tell me not to go hang out with him, not to be driving him to Walmart and anything. She was pretty mad about that. So, yeah, why not? Let's do this. And once I did that, there was no turning back. I remember it got so bad, I was driving around in my car, chasing mailboxes and doing sobriety tests in the middle of the road. And I'm pretty sure that it was there was no cop there, but I thought I was. You know, it was crazy. I don't want to sit here and brag about it, but it's everything was out of control, and I ended up getting violated by my probation officer. And as a matter of fact,
wait. What do you mean got violated by your probation officer?
Oh, probation violation. I got PD'd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, meaning that he.
Sounds like you got raped by him.
For a violation.
Okay.
But like I said, as a matter of fact, I was trying to straighten out. I was trying to clean up. I was receiving letters from colleges. My grandfather was trying to get me to join the military. I had a lot of potential. So I had gotten a new job because I lost my old one due to my drug use. I was working at a cabinet shop building custom cabinets for a living. And well, I had gotten a new job working at a junk mail post office, and I had enrolled into drug treatment. Well, I called my PO to tell him the good news, and I was on my lunch break, and he told me it was too late. He said that I just needed to tell the judge. And I remember the judge modified my sentence. I was supposed to do 5 years in prison if I violated, which in my young immature mind, I was cool with, hell, I'll just go through 5 years and, oh, well, that'll be that. If I would have completed probation, I would have gotten off the registry in like 10 years and I'd be a free man with nothing to worry about. But, so he gave me 1.5 years in prison for the probation violation. I went to prison and I didn't even know this place existed. I had no idea. They even told me when I went to prison that I didn't need to do sex offender treatment because I was in there as a probation violator. And towards the end of my stay in prison, they called me back to the unit, and they gave me a piece of paper that said civil detainer. And I was like, what's this about? And they told me that I'm being evaluated for the sexual predator treatment program. Like, what the hell is that?
Oh, God.
And then when I was evaluated by this Rex Rosenberg guy. I was already on a whole bunch of medication that I didn't need because I was young. I was always seeking attention. I was after drugs. And so I was what you call malingering, which was later on diagnosed in here when I finally admitted to a doctor what I had been doing all these years. But I had been seeking drugs through the doctor in the institution I'm in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
go
ahead.
The point I was getting to is when I was in Rex Rosenberg's office, I was on so much medication. Most of the time I was in there being interviewed by him, I was sleeping. And when I seen the results of his interview, I said to my attorney multiple times, who's this about? This dude, there's no way. All this stuff that he has in my interview results, it isn't about me. I don't know where the hell it come from, because I was not only was sleeping, but a lot of the things he said that I said in there is just not the way I speak. But yeah, I didn't really find out the truth about him till years later.
Wow. So what is it that you want the world to know? Because I'm going to tell you from my perspective, this has been the more difficult story for me to hear. And I was molested, I was abused, but at the same time, I was also a sex addict, and chem sex addict with drugs and sex. So like I understand how bad that messes with your brain, but I have to be honest, as you've been talking, like I can just feel being molested running through my body right now. Like it's an awful feeling. And I'm not saying that. No. I'm not saying that to judge you, and I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. But what I'm saying is, this is like, it's not easy to hear. What have you learned from this experience? Because I know about the injustices that happened there, and I want you to talk about that. But what I want to know is, what have you learned from this experience? Like, what is the one thing about having your freedom and everything stripped from you, with basically, as they say, no hope to get out? But I have hope for you all. But they say that you guys aren't getting out. So what have you learned? What has this taught you? What has been the most positive lesson, and what has been the most heartbreaking lesson?
I'd say the most positive lesson would be make the best of your life when you're young, but be smart about it. Yeah. Don't allow yourself to get out of control, and just because you're young doesn't mean that you won't be paying for your mistakes when you're old.
Isn't that the truth?
The most heartbreaking thing that I've learned is that when you're placed in the hands of somebody else who has complete control of your life, you never know how long your family's going to be around to be your family. You don't take them for granted. Don't take what you got for granted, because when you're in a situation like this, one day you may never have them again, and that's one thing I don't have anymore. I've lost everyone.
What are you doing being anally raped? It changes people.
Yeah.
I know the younger it happens, the more change it causes, but nonetheless, it can still affect adults too.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't know exactly the recipe that was created to create the dissociative identity disorder and ASD that I have. But whether it was the anal raping and the abuse or what, I don't know. But I do know that, you know, mentally, it wreaked havoc on me, and it changed me forever. And as much as I try to heal, and I have healed a lot, you know, I still have I have the side effects from it. And, you know, trying to have a healthy relationship with love, with sex, with myself, with my partner, like, you know, it's a battle, but it's a battle that I'm committed to, because I want to defy the odds. Like, I'm driven to defy the odds. You have had the same things happen to you, and as an adult, and you're in a facility where you're still seeing the people that may have done this to you. You're in an environment, of cesspool of an environment that doesn't really promote healing. And so how are you taking care of yourself? How are you healing, or are you?
Well, this may sound crazy to say, but even though I have been through all that I've been through, I wouldn't change it, because it has made me who I am today. And it's as I often say when I'm put up against something, I've faced bigger monsters than this. You know, I've faced some pretty big, scary monsters. Being forced to do things that I don't want to do. I know that there's no way I would do something like that to someone else, and I find it appalling that a place like this even suggests that I would go out there and try to force myself on someone, you know, or sexually molest someone. You know, first of all, what I did happened when I was a kid and had the mind of a kid, and I myself have never had sex with anyone underage since I was underage. But I'm attracted to grown women. I'm a straight man. I'm attracted to grown women, and as a matter of fact, I'm more attracted to women that are older than myself. But in a sexual aspect, with if I was to be out there, in a weird way, it's kind of given me a type of sympathy or a type of empathy if I'm to have sex with a woman, where, you know, if I'm whatever I'm doing, whatever's going on in a strange way, I kind of know what she's experiencing. So I wouldn't be so aggressive, so sloppy, you know, so I would be more mindful of her feelings as well. But like I said, you know, all this has taught me, that, you know, there's some dangerous people out there. And don't get me wrong, just because this happened to me and here and some others, that doesn't mean that all of us are like that. There's a small number of guys in here that are like that. That one guy, like I said, he's in prison doing 50 plus years. And there's been just, you know, isolated incidents in the 18 years I've been here that I could probably count 3 times that one of the guys has actually lashed out on somebody, or particularly a staff member. So the public is being lied to, plain and simple. We are not the dangerous monsters that they want the public to think we are. Most of us are not the baby rapers that they, you know, brainwash the public into thinking. All sex offenders are not created equal. You have guys in here that are in here on adult offenses, guys who are in here on Romeo and Juliet type charges, kind of like myself. You have guys who are in here for doing things to itty bitty kids. But the fact is regardless of what they've done, it was so long ago, today it's irrelevant. A lot of these guys have gotten past it. You don't know what was going on with them at the time. They're not the same person anymore. They have remorse, and all they want to do is live. It's like myself. All I want to do is live. I just want life. That's all.
What I appreciate you sharing that. What diagnosis have you been given that you agree with, and what diagnosis have you been given that you don't?
Okay, I agree with malingering, which is on my paper.
What is that?
They got that on there.
What's that?
Malingering is like I said, when you basically fake an illness. For years, I was an attention seeker. I was a drug seeker, and I would pretend like I was crazy just so doctors would give me drugs and I could get attention. Well, eventually, I finally admitted to all this. I decided it was finally time to fess up, and I didn't realize there was such a diagnosis until the doctor gave it to me. And then I actually looked it up in the DSM-5, and sure enough, there it was. But yeah, I'll agree with that. But I don't agree with it in the sense that I'm not doing it anymore. It was accurate for a while.
Yeah.
But it's not what I'm doing now, and nor will I ever do something like that again. I know the consequences of it. The other diagnosis that they got on me, they have a pedophilic disorder, attracted to both, non-exclusive, something like that, non-exclusive type. I don't agree with that because, like I said, first of all, I have only had sex with people underage when I myself was underage.
Yeah.
As an adult, I'm not attracted to children, and I've had multiple therapists that agree with that, but for some reason that diagnosis just does not budge. This place, they'll use that diagnosis at their convenience when they want to deny me something, like pictures of my family or magazines or maybe a movie or something like that. But I've had multiple therapists sit there across from me in their office and tell me, I don't agree that this is what you are. I know this wasn't. But in order to remove that, I have to have another evaluation. The county that I'm out of, Wyandotte County, has basically cock-blocked me on getting a new evaluation for years. As I said, about 6-7 years ago, I was in Wyandotte County Court trying to get a reevaluation, trying to get out of this place, and they just basically laughed at me and said, "Go back and do the program. It's easy." And
it's not easy.
Yeah. And I just, for the life of me, the very last time I had a court hearing with Wyandotte County was my last interview that I participated in, which was a couple years ago, and they didn't even let me speak. The judge herself, her name was Constance Alvey. She said if we allow him to speak, it's only going to muss up what we're doing here. My attorney, I saw him on the screen because, like I said, I didn't go to court. It was on Skype or something like that, Zoom or something. But anyway, I saw him storm out at some point. He was pretty angry. They just wouldn't cut me a break. They won't let me be heard. And like I said, this place will. They will take anything you do, anything you say, bad or good, and twist it the best they can. They will come up with any reason, even if they have to create one just to hold you back.
What I got a quick question. When I was doing my introduction, I didn't get to bring this up, and I was going to, but one of the guys I spoke to yesterday at the facility you're in said that he got sent to federal prison. Like he did something so he could go to federal prison because federal prison is better than that place. And the only reason why he went back into that facility is because his kid wanted to be able to see him again. And they said, just take your chances. But now that guy wants to kill himself. So like, that was my conversation yesterday. So let me ask you, if you had the chance to go to federal prison versus where you're at now, where would you go?
I know exactly who you're talking about. That guy is a good friend of mine.
He's a nice guy, by the way. Really nice guy.
Yeah, I've known him for years. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I actually have another friend who's in prison right now who was here. He went all the way to what they call transition, and where they transition you, where they're preparing you for conditional release. But it's a joke too. It's just basically they're creating this whole facade that they have this treatment happening in here and that people are moving forward, when in reality, these guys that are moving forward are constantly getting kicked back. Well, he went to transition, and they was pushing his buttons so much to the point where he snapped. And he ended up getting like 15 years or something for aggravated robbery. I mean, he was on his way to like a job interview. The lady that was taking him was just driving him and would not quit. And he finally snapped while he was in the car, and like he stuck her in the neck with a pin. Well, she ended up surviving. She was okay. And he got out of the car and walked off. He eventually got caught and arrested, and he got put in prison. But I've heard from him from time to time, and he has told me it is much better. Ever since he got to prison, he feels much better. He's not stressed out. He's got a job that he loves in prison. If he could choose between this place and prison, he would stay right there. But yeah, me and my lady have talked about this many times about, the possibility of, should I do something to go back to prison? And I mean, that way she and I can have real visits and actually hug each other and, give each other a kiss, and, I can actually have a better life and a job and, stress free and not have to deal with the ever-changing rules and the bullshit. And the difference between this and prison is, prison, you have an out date. When you're in prison, you know what your out date is. And if you don't have an out date, you know that. In here, you don't have an out date. It's indeterminate constantly. It is up to the people that are large and in charge whether or not you move forward or if you ever get out. And this, like I said, this whole moving forward thing, it just basically just keeps the illusion that they have a program going on in here, which they don't. It's a waste of taxpayers' money, and it's a big lie. But yeah, so like if your release date in prison was March 25th, 2025, well, guess what? You would get released from prison on March 25th, 2025. But in here, it's not like that.
Right.
They do this whole transition thing and all this other, reintegration and all this other bullshit. But prison, when it's time to get out, you get out. And here they got this whole, but we're preparing you for society. No, you're not. You're complicating things, you're frustrating people, and you're toying with people's lives. This not only affects us as the individuals in the program, but it affects our families too. A lot of our families want nothing to do with us, not because of what we've done, but because of this place makes it so difficult for our families to be a part of our lives. In prison, our families are much more a part of our lives. So yes, a lot of us would rather be in prison.
Wow. God.
But it's very difficult because in our minds, we know that if we go that route, we have this weird hope in our mind that maybe one day they'll finally do the right thing and start letting people out of here. We don't want to miss out on that. But then they just kind of dangle this little shred of hope in front of our faces of, if we behave ourselves and do their program, we'll get out one day. We'll actually move forward and go home and have a place of our own. But it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid that not only we're afraid that prison might add to it, and once we're done with our stay in prison, we'll just come back here, but we're afraid of going to prison because of how sex offenders are treated in there. Most sex offenders, when they get out, they don't reoffend because they don't want to go back to prison. They're terrified of it.
Were you molested, or not molested? Were you raped in that facility because of the debt that you had from drugs?
No, and I was going to get to that earlier, but I must have veered off. But actually, I mean, it had nothing to do with the debt. The guy that raped me actually wasn't even involved in my drug use or what was going on. He was a separate guy who just happened to be there on the unit, and this was his MO. He had escaped here in the past, and he's been a constant problem out here for years. But yeah, at that time he was kind of letting on like he wanted to be my friend and everything. And I, like I said, was on a lot of unnecessary medication. I was still doing a lot of illegal substances at the time, and I could barely defend myself or function at that time. Today, no one's going to get that off of me. But at that time, yeah, I was vulnerable. I was weak. I was full of drugs, and he took advantage of that. And I remember when it first happened, I had a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue in my room, and I thought after a conversation he had with me that he knew about it, because he said to me something about wanting to see that magazine that I had. I was like, okay, well, I went to go get the magazine. He said, no, I want to see that. I want to go to your room looking. I want people to see us looking at it. Like, okay, so I didn't think nothing of it. I could think that's kind of weird. And so he come to my room. He's standing at my door, and I went to get the magazine. And next thing I know, he's grabbing me on the crotch, going, I want to see if it really is 9 inches. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, what the? I'm shoving him off me. Like, dude, what are you doing? Get off me! And next thing I know, he reaches behind his back and he pulls out this thing that was about it was pretty big. And he kind of shoves me back in my room, and it just went from there. And he made me do things that I'll never forget that experience. But even during all that, yes, because of my drug addiction, I was being prostituted. There was a guy in here who was in charge of me, basically. He looked at me one day. I was so deep in debt with him, and I was trying to spend my money how I wanted. And he looked at me one day because he found out about it, and he said, I own your soul. And I'll never forget that. And I had no response because I knew he was right. There was nothing I could say. And if he wanted me to come out in the day room and act like a dog and start humping someone's leg, I had to. One day he just wanted to punch somebody. And so I remember he come to my door one night and said, I feel like punching somebody. I got to get it out of my system. And so he punched me in the face. And then he paid me some drugs in order to do that. He gave me a little bit of drugs. And I remember going into my room, and I actually had to straighten back out my nose, and the bone right on the side of beside my nose kind of broke, and I had to actually adjust my own skull right there in my room just to be able to snort drugs.
Holy shoes, dude.
Yeah. And it took me a while to finally get out of debt with that guy. A lot of shit that I had to do, and a lot of lies to my family, and I'm not proud of any of that. But I finally got out of debt with that guy, and it was a learning experience. It was absolute hell.
What was the staff?
To sleep with a guy that I did not want to sleep with. This big, fat, black, nasty guy. That's no. I apologize on the black part, but if anybody's offended,
I don't think you're being racist by saying that. But when you're a white dude and a big black guy wants to rape you, I mean, there's some fear with that.
It was scary. I mean, come on. But anyways,
any big dude, really.
Here I am, and this my life is completely in control of there was 8 other guys, him and this whole group of guys, that I had to do whatever they wanted. And it was all going on right in front of these people and right under their noses. There was a point when I was being starved to death. The food here used to be really good back when I first got here. And they would, because I was so deep in debt with these guys, they would take all my trays. I mean, we'd sit down at the chow hall, and I would just hear them say something like, oh, I like chicken strips. And I'd have to back away from my tray. Next thing I know, I'd see a hand grab my tray and take off with it. And it got to where I was so hungry, I was actually eating food out of the garbage, food that looked like it had been chewed and spit out just so I could eat.
Where was the staff? Where was the staff during all this?
They were right there. I don't know if they knew what the hell was going on, but I think sometimes they were even participating in it, because obviously, in order to get illegal substances in here, you got to get it somehow.
That's true.
So a lot of these staff, I think, were just in cahoots with them. But
doesn't help that the U.S. government's the biggest drug cartel on the planet either. So it's like screaming, that they're trying to get that facility in trouble for prostitution and drug use when our own government's involved in it. It's hard hard to break that place down when that's the case. Dadgummit, man. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and I tell you what, I don't think it's coming in to the degree that it used to, but I'm sure it's still coming in. But that guy right there that said that to me, he ended up going to prison for a little while along with some others because all their behaviors finally caught up with him, and I guess this place was forced to charge him, and they ended up sending him to prison. Well, they eventually came back. So those very guys that I was living through hell under the hands of, I see them all the time. You know, I have classes with them. I'm forced to live with them. So, but you know, today will they get something like that off of me? No. That one, as a matter of fact, when he came back from prison, he tried to get me back into it. He approached me, hey, you know, I got a little something. You want it? You know, I was like, no. He's like, you sure? I'm like, no, I'm absolutely sure. Get the hell away from me.
How did you get sober? How did you get sober?
Willpower. I actually had a drug overdose that almost killed me in 2016, right here in this building. It was not long after my name change. I was doing not really much more than I normally did. I was in my room doing lines, and the next morning, something wasn't right. My heart was feeling like it was pounding out of my chest. I was sweating, and I could hardly breathe, and I ended up in the emergency room after I fell out in the medical, and the doctor was in there pounding on my chest, and I had nurses around me and everything, and I was actually standing outside my own body, and they were calling my name, telling me to come back to them, and I was standing there screaming at them, going, I'm right here, I'm right here. And I was looking down at them while they were all huddled around me. And yeah, that was a huge experience for me. But yeah, that's not something I want to go back to. So I've learned a lot of lessons in here. I don't really give credit to this place. Yeah, I give credit to the experiences I've had that have taught me so much. It's made me a very strong human being. But, you know, this place, they don't give you treatment. There's no such thing as treatment in here. It's all a joke.
Yeah. Wow, man. I don't know what to say. This is wild. My heart goes out to you though, because your story, I know so many people that have your story, except for the fact that they didn't go to prison and they didn't have family turn on them. Like I know people that had relationships with their stepsisters and other people that right now to this day are prominent attorneys and other people. And it's like how is it? And this is I don't know the answer to this question, but is it like why you and why are some other people, why do they get away with it and why is it okay? And I don't understand that. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand minor infraction. But at the same time, when someone's messed up on drugs and on their younger and all that other stuff, and there's not like, did you even know what you were doing was wrong back then? I mean, honestly, be honest.
No,
did you know?
No. And you know, and the thing is that, okay, and they try to pose this to you a lot. Well, if you didn't know what you was doing was wrong, then why were you hiding it? Why were you being secretive about it? Well, even at 16 years old, if I was having sex with my 15 or 16-year-old girlfriend, I'm not running to her parents and telling her parents about it.
No, it's scary. Dad will kick your ass.
You know, so at that age, if you're doing something like that with somebody, you just don't talk about it with, you know, you might brag to your friends a little bit, but you don't, you know, run to their parents and say, hey, but in their minds, because you didn't do that, you knew what she was doing was wrong, and you should be punished for the rest of your life for it. In these people's minds, they think that they're carrying out some kind of weird vengeance on all of us for what we did to our victims. In reality, a lot of our victims have forgiven us a long time ago and even are wondering why we're still in here, including mine.
That's actually true.
My brother.
That's true.
Yeah, my brother he's even Facebook friends with some of them. And they've asked him, why is he in there? When is he getting out? What the hell are they doing? You know, they know that I've done my prison term. They forgave me a long time ago. They got over it. Why is this place so pissed off about something that I did to somebody else?
Maybe they're not pissed off. Maybe
they think it's their duty.
Maybe you're just your money to them.
That's exactly what it is. And as I said to you before, I come to realize that this is basically Munchausen by proxy on a mass scale. They pretend like we all have a disease that we don't have, subject us to all these crazy treatments that are actually detrimental to all of us, lie to the public about it, all for political and financial gain.
Man.
That's exactly what this is.
Well, brother,
a load of crap.
Yeah, it is. It is. Do you have any last words to share with the audience? Do you have anyone you want to say hello to? Share anything you want as we close out.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's so much more I could have shared about my experience in here. You know, I barely touched the surface of what I've been through. I would like everyone to understand that's not like the only things I've experienced in here. There's been so much more. I could have gone on and on. But everybody out there needs to understand who we really are, what their tax dollars are really paying for. You see all the crazy stuff happening out there, the crimes and everything, but yet they let on like we're the boogeymen. We're the ones that are so dangerous that if we was to be released, society just would not be safe, and that's actually to the contrary. In reality, we had the lowest recidivism rate next to murderers, and in reality, if anybody needs to worry about us, it would be our own family and friends, because most sex offenses happen within family and friends. And it's not the guy down the street you need to worry about, it's the guy down the hall. Mm-hmm. So most of us we have remorse. We just want to live. We just want life. And society really needs to understand that. You're wasting your money, and we're not the ones you need to be afraid of. Did you say something about saying hi to people?
Yeah, do you want to say hi to anybody?
Sure, I just say hi to my lady, Noni. If at any point my brother hears this, say hi to my brother Rocky, and maybe some other friends out there that might hear it. Hello, contact me sometime.
Well, brother, what so when I publish this, and forgive me because I have what name would you like me to use when I publish this?
Oh, Daimon Allen. I changed my name for a reason. I do not like that other name. I don't like saying it.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Do you know how to spell it?
Is it Daimien?
Daimion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Allen, Allen or An?
Allen.
Okay. All right. Daimon, I will talk to you again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing honestly. And
no problem, man.
Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope.
Oh, I won't. I never do.
Good. Good. Well, God bless you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Bye-bye. I had a hard time with that one. I didn't enjoy that. It's not judgment on him. That was just uncomfortable to hear. I'm sure it was uncomfortable for you. But it's weird, but I being a chemsex addict, I mean, I don't get the minor attracted thing. But he was a minor too. So like, I don't know how to quantify that. Like, is two underage people having sex regardless of the age gap? Like, at what point does it become criminal? Now, the part that's confusing, and maybe at 19, because he said 19, that would be above age. That would be he was no longer a minor. He got in trouble, but he said he didn't have sex, so I don't know exactly what he did. I try to get him to tell me, but I don't know if I wanted to know. Every one of these stories are different, every one of them. And I disagree with a few things he said, because there are some pieces of crap that are locked up there. There are, but there's some good men too. I think he's a good guy. Everything I know about him, I mean, how long do you carry remorse also? Like, where you can sound like you're so sad about what you did. Like, I mean, he's been there for how long? It's complicated. This is not this is a complicated issue, and it's not a black or white issue, but and I can't judge what is right or wrong and what's the right sentence and what's appropriate. I'm not a therapist. I don't know any of that stuff. I just know that there's horrific things happening at this facility that don't happen at federal prisons, because it's like they call it a shadow prison for a reason, because what's happening there, no one else is supposed to know about. And the thing is, I'm banned from some of the other facilities. I can't talk to them, the people that are there, because of what we just did in broadcasting this. Not supposed to broadcast it. So I hope nothing bad comes on him, because there's been backlash with some of the other people speaking out. But you know what? Some of them don't care, because they're fighting for their life and they're fighting for their name. I brought up Tom at the very beginning. He was just fighting to get his name cleared for his family's sake before they died, because he gets arrested. It's all over the paper. Everyone knows about it. And his family's good name in this community in Minnesota, like they had a great name, and it was ruined because of what their son was accused of, and he was innocent. And he has been fighting to clear his name, and it's horrific. It's sad, because of what happened to him there. And I'm sorry, but if that's supposed to be a rehabilitation hospital, if prostitution and drug use and raping is essentially allowed, who's getting rehabilitated? I haven't been raped in a long time. Him talking about it, like I want to go lay down. Honestly, that is what I'm going to do, is go lay down, because it fucks with you. No one deserves to experience abuse. And I'm not I'm not excusing anyone's behavior at all. I never sexually abused anyone that I'm aware of. I don't know. I mean, I've never been accused. And well, actually, I was falsely accused once, and thank God my crazy drunk college friends videotaped it, or I would have been in trouble, because that proved I was innocent. But I mean, I was violent and an abuser, like a physical abuser. I mean, I was messed up. But like, even all the being a chemsex addict, like, that was the escape, drugs and sex. Like, I wanted to reframe what had happened to me, because every time I saw a guy that was older and bigger, I thought they were going to rape me. And I know how silly that may sound now, because I'm a very large individual, but I wasn't a large individual then. And it changed me forever. And as much work as I do to heal, there's still the after effects of what happened, the mental illness that I have. And mind you, I've learned to thrive for the most part with it, but I got to tell you, I take 5 steps forward a lot and then 10 steps back sometimes. It happens. Especially if I switch and lose it and then do something stupid and I don't remember, but then there's consequences for it. And then it's like, it's maddening, but that has been my life. And so I'm not making this about me, or not trying to make this about me, but I'm just trying to say that the abuse affects people. My abusing other people, that affected them. The physical and the sexual abuse, and even the verbal abuse. I mean, I've verbally abused and physically abused, and that's damaging. And what happened to me was damaging. And then you add drugs into the mix, and that's damaging. And then especially meth and heroin, and oof. I don't excuse the actions of any of the prisoners or the people that are locked in the civil commitment. I don't excuse anyone's behavior. I don't excuse mine. But people deserve the right to be rehabilitated. And if they can't be rehabilitated, then okay. But have it be legitimate. But to throw someone in a facility where really it's just about money and a power grab and control, and then treating them worse than animals, worse than prisoners. They're treated worse than prisoners. It's not right. And something needs to be done about it, because people can heal. I have DID, I have ASD. I mean, I'm different, right? It messes with me, but I can heal, and I've been healing. I mean, I have a successful relationship with Jessica, and mind you, it's a different kind of relationship, and it has to be very fluid in nature because it changes all the time, but it works. And I'm fortunate that I met someone that loves me enough to be willing to work with me, so it can be done. Rehabilitation can happen for people if they're willing to do the work. I do the work. And these facilities are designed for people, or they say, and how they get all the money from the taxpayers is that they're going to help rehabilitate the people that have been accused of these crimes. But there's not any rehabilitation going on. So why should you care? Because you're paying for it, and it's a waste of money. Like so many other things that we pay for as taxpayers, that's a waste of money. Thank you for watching. Again, thank you to our sponsor, GenoStem. Sometimes I don't know if they want to be associated with this kind of stuff, but they are my sponsor and they help pay for what I do. So thank you to them, because it is a life-changing product. It has absolutely impacted my health and changed my health forever. So blessed for it. And I'm really excited for the anemia rescue product we have for women that's coming out this week. And it's awesome. It's the real deal. I'm probably going to take it not for anemia, but for the other benefits of it. And it's all derived. Well, it is. It's prime beef liver, prime steak, that kind. Yeah, it's like that. It's phenomenal. Anyway, thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Yeah, this is triggering, and I don't know how you feel about it. I'd love your feedback. I'd love for you to, comment, say something. You can express your disgust or your confusion, or you can say mean things to me, or whatever you want. But I'm curious to know your thoughts. Do you have compassion for Daimon? Do you want to know more about civil commitment? I'm happy to answer. What questions do you have? We have so many more interviews coming up with different prisoners and therapists. We have a lot of whistleblowers coming out because of what's going on. And this is important, and this happens, and it's a scary, scary thing. But it's also messed up. So I ask that you if you will, to keep not only the prisoners, but the victims and their families, and the people who want to speak out against what's happening there, to please keep them in your prayers, because no one deserves to be treated inhumanely. I'm all for the death penalty, for the record, for those that deserve it. I'm all for it, 100%. And I'm not tolerant on a lot of things. But injustice is not something that I can tolerate. And this is injustice, and it's cruel, and it's a lie, and it's deception, and it's wrong. And someone needs to do something about it. So I ask that you pray that someone does something about it. Thank you for watching.